Hey guys, in this video I want to go ahead and talk about writing polynomial functions given their roots, but more specifically now we're going to talk about the imaginary and the radical roots, okay? So let's go ahead and get into it. Write the equation of this polynomial given its roots. So remember, this is what they're going to give you, okay? And they don't tell me the multiplicity, so this is all the roots. Now this guy is easy, all right? So what you want to do is, this is the root, so that means x is equal to 4 and x is equal to 3 minus radical 2. Okay. Now, just a little side note here. Now, when they give you this, okay, just in the back of your mind know that there's another root, okay? Because remember, square roots have two solutions. So you also have the other root, which is the conjugate, 3 plus radical 2. Okay. So just keep that in mind, but we're not going to be using that one, okay? So this guy is pretty easy, all right? So this guy, bring the 4 across, and you're going to get x minus 4, all right? So we write it, this is the root, now we write it in factor form. Now what about this one? This is where it gets kind of complex, right? Well, I'm going to show you an easy way to go ahead and do this one. So what you want to do, normally we would bring the whole thing over and square it, but we're going to do it a little bit different. We're just going to go ahead and bring the 3 across. Okay, so what's going to happen? You're going to get x minus 3, okay, to the left, and then on the right, you're just going to have negative radical 2. Now, my objective is to get rid of the square root because it just makes things a lot harder. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to square the left and the right, like this, okay? So what happens here? Negative squared, negative times negative is a positive. And then the square root and the square cancel out, so you're just left with 2. What about this guy? Well, this guy you can do the math, okay? So you can just multiply it out, and you should get x squared minus 6x plus 9. And I think everybody knows how to multiply this out. Remember, x minus 3 squared, that's when you do x minus 3 times x minus 3, okay? And I'm pretty sure every Algebra 2 student knows how to multiply this out. Okay, so now this, I'm going to go ahead and solve it. I'm going to bring the 2 across. He's going to become a negative, okay? I'm going to add it to the 9, so it's going to become a positive 7. So now this is my factor, okay? And so now I have this guy and this guy. So I'm going to bring this guy down, and I'm going to have x minus 4 right here. And of course, this is your function is going to equal y. Just for fun, I'm going to go ahead and multiply this out, okay? Okay, let's go ahead and do this. So x times x squared, that's x cubed. X times negative 6 is negative 6x squared. X times 7, that's positive 7x. Negative 4 times x squared, that is negative 4x squared. Negative 4 times negative 6 is positive 24x. Negative 4 times 7 is negative 28. All right, let's go ahead and just combine like terms. I'll go ahead and do it over here, f of x. Remember, f of x and y are the same thing. As you move up into higher mathematics, you're going to be using f, which means function in terms of x. So this becomes x cubed. And then negative 6 minus 4 is negative 10x squared. And then 7 plus 24, that's positive 31x. And then minus 28. So that's the polynomial that'll give you these roots, okay? Now remember, when you do the roots, you're going to get these 3, okay? Because why? Remember, radicals and imaginaries have 2 solutions, right? 2 solutions. And that's how you do that one, guys. So now let's go ahead and look at the imaginaries. And this one, now for those of you guys forgot, remember, imaginary numbers, mathematicians, you know, they had trouble, taking the square root of a negative, and you can't do that. So a system was developed called imaginary numbers, where you take the square root of a negative, and they called it an imaginary, okay, with the I, all right? So remember, the square root of negative 1 is equal to I, okay? And this is important because now if I square both sides, I square the right and I square the left, I get I squared equals square root of negative 1 squared. And then I end up with I squared is equal to negative 1. So this is key right here. And this is what we're going to be using when we go ahead and write the equations for these polynomial functions, okay? So now, let's go ahead and do this one. X equals 0 multiplicity of 2, okay? So that means this guy here, All right, well, that doesn't really help me much. Why, when I bring it over, so 0. So I'm just going to write x, and multiplicity of 2 means this guy. And that's pretty much it. Now, what about this guy? You're going to go ahead and write x equals 5i. Okay, now what are you going to do with this? Remember, you want to go ahead and use this guy, this relationship here, to get rid of the I, because that's what we want to do with these radicals in this imaginary, get rid of these i's. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to square both sides, okay? 5i, we're going to square it, and you're going to end up with x squared is equal to 5 squared is 25, I squared, well, that's I squared. And remember, what is I squared? Yeah, it's negative 1. So you're going to get 25. I'll just do it, step by step. Equals 25 times negative 1. We get x squared equals negative 25. Now that I have this, right, I have integers, I can bring it across. We're going to go ahead and get x squared plus 25. Now that's my factor. This x squared, we're going to go ahead and bring it down. So we have it here. And now we have y. So now I can go ahead and write my function. F of x is equal to x to the 4th plus 25x squared. And this is the polynomial that will give you a multiplicity of 2 right here. And then also another root of 5i. Now, just also another side note. Remember, imaginaries have also 2 solutions because they come from the square root. So if you have 5i, you're also going to have negative 5i. Okay? So you're going to have a double root here, and then 2 more here, so that's a total of 4, and that makes sense because this is to the 4th power. Okay, and if you notice here, right, you have 1, 2, 3 roots, and it makes sense because it's a cubic. All right, so the idea is to get rid of those imaginaries and those radicals. So let's go ahead and try to do a couple more that are just a little bit more difficult. Okay, so how about this one? That one is pretty simple. That's going to give me x equals 2, and this one too, x is going to equal to 4 minus 2i. Not too bad. So this guy's pretty easy. Bring the 2 across, you're going to get x minus 2. Okay, put that in parentheses. That's your factor form. Well, what about this guy? Well, bring the 4 over. You're going to get x minus 4 equals negative 2i. Okay, what do I do now? Same thing. We're going to go square both sides. Okay, just like so. All right, and then we're going to do our math. So negative 2 squared, negative times negative is a positive. So you should get 4i squared. What about this guy? You're going to multiply it out. X minus 4 times x minus 4, you should get x squared. So you square the first one, okay, you x times negative 4, and you double it, okay? So x times negative 4 is negative 4x. Negative 4x doubled, you're going to get negative 8x. And then the last thing is negative 4 to the 2nd power, that becomes positive 16. Okay, now what about the I squared? Remember, I squared is equal to negative 1. So you're going to go ahead and replace that, negative 1. Go ahead and continue. We're going to get x squared minus 8x. Plus 16 is equal to negative 4. All right. Bring that guy across, becomes a positive. So you're going to end up with x squared minus 8x plus 20. All right. And that's going to be your factor right there. Now we're going to go ahead and bring this guy back down. Okay. You're going to have x minus 2, like so. That comes right there. Of course, this is my f of x, my y. I'm just going to go ahead and distribute that. So we're going to go ahead and get x times x squared is x cubed. X times negative 8x is negative 8x squared. X times 20 is positive 20x. Negative times 2, negative 2 times x squared is negative 2x squared. Negative 2 times negative 8 is positive 16. Negative 2 times 20 is negative 40. All right, so now let's just go ahead and put it together. So we have f of x is equal to, let's see, x cubed is right there by itself. Negative 8 minus 2, that's negative 10, x squared. 20 plus 16, well, that's 36. And then you have the minus 40 right there. And then there's a cubic, all right? So remember, this is an imaginary, okay? So here we only have 2 roots, but there's actually a third one. It's called the conjugate. It's right here. You have a third one. They don't give it to you. It's 4 plus 2i. It's the conjugate of this guy. Because remember, imaginaries have 2 solutions because they come from the radicals. All right, and that's it. So this would be your polynomial. It makes sense because it has a degree of 3. So you have 1, 2, 3 roots. All right, the last one, guys, just another example, just to kind of help you guys with this. So this one, that means the root is 3. That means x is equal to 3. That means this one, x is equal to 2 minus I. Same thing. Now this one's pretty easy. That one becomes x minus 3. That's our factor. This guy becomes x minus 2. Leave the I on the right side because we want to get rid of that. So we're going to go ahead and square it. Square both sides. So negative I squared, that be negative times negative is a positive, then I becomes I squared. Okay, be careful with that. Okay, negative to the second power is positive, and then I to the second is I squared. And then this guy, when you multiply it out, you should get x squared minus 4x plus 4. The I squared, of course, becomes negative 1. So we're going to go ahead and put that and then bring it across. When you bring the negative 1 across, remember, it becomes a positive 1. So you get x squared minus 4x plus 5. That becomes our factor right there. Bring down the x minus 3. All right. And there it is. Last thing I'm going to go ahead and do is just distribute that. That way I can have my polynomial. So let's see, x times x squared, that's x cubed. X minus 4x squared. X times 5 is positive 5x. Negative 3 times x squared is negative 3x squared. Negative 3 times negative 4 is a positive 12. And negative 3 times 5 is a negative 15. All right, not so bad. Let's go ahead and combine like terms. And I'll just go ahead and do it over here. So that's going to give you x cubed. Negative 4 minus 3 is negative 7. X squared. 5 plus 12 is 17. And then that's a minus 15. And there it is, guys. So these are not too difficult when you go ahead and understand how to do them. Just get rid of that radical and those imaginary values. All right, guys. So hopefully that helps you out, and I'll see you guys next time.